Hi, this is Dr. Jeanette DeWitt, and I welcome you to our Tuesday Facebook Live series. Today we are going to talk about foot health and how to what to look for when you buy a shoe. It is April and it's National Foot Health Month, so every Tuesday this month we will be focusing on something related to your foot or your ankle or even your lower leg. And today, like I said, we're going to talk about what to look for when you buy a shoe. For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Dr. Jeanette DeWitt. I am a physical therapist, a certified athletic trainer, and a fitness coach. So I'm here today to chat with you about what to look for when you're buying a shoe. First, we're going to talk about why do we wear shoes? And it seems like a kind of a funny question, but really we wear shoes to protect our feet. We live in a concrete world, and in other countries that are mostly grass and dirt, you may see people running around without any shoes on. And that is because they have a softer surface. But the concrete world of urban and even suburban America really lends itself to wearing shoes to protect our feet, to improve the shock absorbency for our feet when our heel hits the ground. And we also use it just for style and fashion and to prevent injuries. And then we also use it to offer support to our feet, legs, knees, hips, and back. So that's why we wear shoes. And what type of shoes should we look for? Well, there are specific types of shoes out there, and they all have a reason. They all have a purpose on why you should select that particular shoe. So if you are looking for a dress shoe, obviously there are different dress shoes for women and for men, and these are to help make us look nice, they're fashionable, but also give us support through our workday. And there are different types of work shoes. There are heeled shoes, especially higher heels for women in the business world and where there are dress code requirements, as well as business shoes for men that offer support, but also offer style and fashion, as well as an improved business look. Both of these types of shoes can be used for work or social gatherings, and they tend to be a little bit dressier, but they can still be comfortable. I want you to remember that when we start to talk about other things with shoes. Fashion shoes or work shoes, they can be comfortable and they don't have to hurt your feet. They can also offer you support. Another type of shoe would be athletic shoes. These are very specific. Court shoes are specifically for shoes or for athletic competition on a court, such as volleyball, tennis, basketball. These are all specific shoes. And the reason court shoes are so specific is because they offer lateral stability for your ankles. You will see some that are a high top, some that are a low top, but a court shoe is designed to allow you to move forward and backward as well as side to side. This is important when you play because it's going to help prevent ankle and foot injuries. Another sport-specific shoe would be a running shoe, and running shoes can be for the road or for a trail, and the difference is going to be the amount of grip that is on the sole. So for example, if you look at my shoe, this is actually a trail running shoe, and the grip on this is going to be a lot more dense and a lot more gripping because a trail shoe, it requires quite a bit of gripping over different terrain versus a road running shoe can be more of the waffle-like pattern because you don't have to worry about rocks and twigs and uneven surfaces as much as you would on a trail. The other thing that is built in for a running shoe is that it is meant to propel you forward. So from the back to the forward and toeing off, it's meant to propel you forward. you don't really, when you're running, whether it's on a trail or on a road, you don't really run backwards. You typically are running forward, and you're not really running sideways because you want to get to your destination as quickly as possible. So the shoe is designed to move you forward. So it does pitch you forward a little bit in an attempt to help take the shock off of your heel and off of your foot and move you through that forward motion from the heel to the arch to the toe. Again, another specific running shoe, or excuse me, another specific sports shoe is going to be your field sports shoes, your cleats. These would be football, soccer, baseball, lacrosse, maybe rugby. These type of shoes are going to have cleats, and the cleats are going to have different depth to them. And that's because if you play on a hard field and it's a firmer surface, you don't necessarily need a thicker cleat or a spike, because you're going to, you don't need to grip in. You're not going to slide as much on a solid dirt field. Versus a soft kind of muddy field, you want to have a higher depth of cleat or spike, because you want to be able to grip in so you're not slipping on the field when it's wet or muddy. Again, very sports specific type of a shoe. And then you have other sports such as golf and track, where those spikes also offer traction, but the surface is much different than a muddy football or muddy soccer field. It's still pretty nicely manicured on a golf course, and it's still often artificial track on, or artificial surface on a track. So these type of shoes are definitely sports specific. We've talked about the court shoe versus the running shoe versus the field sports shoe versus other track type or spike type shoes in golf and track. Now, so far we talked about athletic shoes and dress shoes, but I also want to talk about sandals. Depending on the sandal, a lot of people think, oh, you know, sandals aren't great to wear, and that's absolutely true. They do not give a lot of foot support, and they do not give a lot of ankle stability. But there are high quality sandals out there that do offer a cushion and offer support. If you buy kind of the cheaper version of the flip-flop, there's not much support there. If you buy more of a dressy type sandal, it's usually feels like cardboard that your foot is on. But some of your nicer, like athletic type of sandals are really, they're not just popular, but they are really supportive. Some of them, you may have seen the soccer sandals with the little massagers in them. Those are really good because those are meant for the locker room. They're meant to keep your feet away from fungus that grows in a locker room and from moisture, as well as provide your foot with some support through that massaging type of a sole. There are other types of athletic sandals, such as water shoes, and these type of shoes a lot of people will wear for sports like canoeing or kayaking, if they're going to be on the beach, boating. Those type of shoes do offer some arch support and do offer some ankle support because they have straps surrounding the ankle. There's also other, when we continue on the line of sandals, there's also other types of sandals that are more athletic, not in a flip-flop version, but often offer a softer type of a spongy type of support. And those sandals do really well with giving feet support. You don't necessarily have the ankle stability if you don't have a strap that's around the ankle, but you do have the more support in the arch versus a typical kind of paper thin flip-flop. Now, the other, when I go and talk a little bit more about the water shoes, the nice thing about water shoes is they are meant to be used in a kind of a rugged, more rugged environment. So I mentioned canoeing, I mentioned kayaking, and the nice thing about these type of water shoes is they often have a closed toe, which protects your toes from rocks or from uneven terrain. Many people who are doing camping will also use water shoes because they can do some light hiking in them and do also their water activities. And then that brings me to some hiking shoes. Some people will wear trail running shoes for hiking, or they'll actually wear a low hiking shoe or even a high hiking shoe that's going to give them a little bit more stability, especially if they're hiking in the mountains or on rigorous trails. They want to have like a weatherproofing type material on them, as well as a really solid toe base, because that will protect their toes from stubbing them on rocks and uneven terrain. Now, so we've talked quite a bit about different shoes, but what you want to look at is what every high quality shoe should have. And we're going to take my running shoe again. And when we look at this shoe, whether it's a dress shoe or an athletic shoe, we want to have a nice firm heel counter. So I should not be able to squeeze this together. This is normal if I squeeze at the top, but if I squeeze kind of right here, I should not be able to squeeze that together. That's about as much give as you want that to have, because you want it to be firm through here so it is supporting your ankle and your foot, and that your heel doesn't slip. The other thing that you want to look at is the shoe should not bend. So some shoes, they'll like bend in half, like an accordion right here. This shoe does not do that. You want to have some bend where you naturally are going to bend at your toes, but the shoe right in through here should not bend in half. And you shouldn't be able to twist a lot of that shoe. You shouldn't be able to wring it out like a towel, because that would have no stability across the arch and no support across the arch. You also want to have a wide toe box. Any type of shoe that has a point to it or a V is not really what you want. You want a rounded toe box so that it's wide, and then your toes aren't squished together. The other thing that you want to look at is adjustable type laces. And you can lace your shoes in a variety of ways, actually, to make the shoe tighter, to make the shoe accommodate any type of toe or foot deformities that you might have. You can actually change the way you lace, but you don't want to have like a slip-on shoe that you can't adjust. You want to have laces or a Velcro strap, even on ladies' dress shoes, like a Mary Jane type style shoe. If it has a Velcro strap that you can adjust the width, that is helpful in making it a more customized fit for you. So that's kind of the basics, whether it's a dress shoe or whether it's an athletic shoe. You want a strong, supportive heel counter back here, and you want a nice wide toe box through the front to give your toes room, and you want good arch support. I'll face it kind of in the inside. You want good arch support so that you can't just bend the shoe in half. So we've kind of talked about what every shoe should have. Here's a topic on what shoes not to purchase. High heels. Now, a lot of women love high heels, and I will tell you a brief story. I had a business executive female who wore high heels for 25 years, and she retired. And about 3 months after she retired, she had excruciating feet pain, both left and right foot. And the reason was, for 25 years she wore high heels, and then all of a sudden she abruptly stopped wearing high heels, and her calves were so tight from wearing the high heels for so long that it really created a lot of feet issues and ankle issues for her, because her calves had actually shortened and she had trouble keeping her foot flat without heel pain and calf pain. So we worked extensively on a lot of flexibility, but high heels will shorten and tighten up your calf muscles. The other thing that high heels do is they pitch you forward. And the reason that is because if your heels are like this, then your back is going to lean forward. And when you lean forward, your body, the upper body and your head and eyes say, oh, I'm leaning forward, I need to arch back. And so people will hyperextend their back and create back pain as well as neck pain just to accommodate for that pitching forward and that leaning forward in the high heel. That high heel changes your center of gravity, and because of that, you lean forward, and then your muscles in your upper body need to accommodate and adjust for that. So as much as possible, avoid high heels. And if you need to go with a higher heel to abide by your employer's dress code, you might decide to try like a wedge heel instead of a spike heel, or a heel that's going to raise the whole shoe up. So it's a heel, but it's more on a platform where the whole shoe is elevated instead of just the heel. And that tends to work a little bit better than wearing the 3-inch or 4-inch spike heel that really raises you up this way. Now, what about a hardwood or a synthetic shoe? These are also a no-no when you purchase shoes. Any type of wooden shoe is hard. Any type of synthetic sole that is also hard without a lot of give, it's not going to allow your shoe to absorb some of the shock, so that when your heel hits the ground, it's like hitting directly on the concrete. So you want a nice rubber sole or a softer synthetic type sole that's going to allow that shock absorbency. When you don't have that, that shock absorbency or that force goes directly from your heel to your knees, to your hips, and to your back. And if you're struggling with a lot of knee, hip, and back problems or joint pain, I would suggest you look at your shoes. Are your soles too hard, or do you need a new pair of shoes? A better choice, again, would be to go with that soft synthetic sole that's going to give you some cushion and absorb some of that shock. Now, the other thing we talked about when we looked at what to do with buying shoes, we looked at the wide toe box area. You definitely want to avoid shoes that have a narrow toe box or that point or that V type cut in that toe box region. When you have a very small toe box and a narrow toe box, your toes are squished together, and that can put pressure on the nerves in your foot. And there's actually something called a Morton's neuroma, where the nerves get so irritated they start to wrap around and form a bundle, and that is called a neuroma. And when that happens, it is excruciatingly painful, and a lot of it is caused by shoes that have too narrow of a toe box or are pointed. So please avoid that, and have a better option will be that wide toe box region. The other thing that can happen with a narrow toe box is bunions, and that causes that first big toe, the tendon of that will actually start to angle in, and because the point of the shoe is moving it in, and you can create a bunion in your foot because of wearing narrow shoes. We talked a little bit about flip-flops. I highly recommend that people avoid flip-flops unless they are of that athletic type where there is some arch support, like the water shoe that has the ankle strap, or more of an athletic flip-flop. And I do recommend that if you're going to get flip-flops, that you wear them sparingly. I see so many people walking at the amusement park in flip-flops because they're coming from the water park or they're coming from a water ride. The problem is I've had my GPS on at the amusement park, and I walk 5 to 6 miles at the amusement park. And if you're walking 5 to 6 miles on hot blacktop, that's hard, in a flip-flop that has no support, you're typically going to have foot problems like plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, because your ankle's all over the place and not being stabilized by a shoe. You're also going to have knee issues, hip issues, and back issues because you're working hard to keep the flip-flop on. So you're working all these tiny muscles, and then you're not getting any shock absorbency from the shoe helping you. So flip-flops are like a huge no-no for long distances. If you're using them, get out of the car, go to the beach, hanging out on the beach, you're not walking a ton in them, that's the purpose of a flip-flop, is to protect your feet from in the shower room or in a shower locker room scenario, or to protect your feet from the hot sand. They're not really designed and intended to walk 5 to 6 miles around a blacktop surfaced amusement park. So I do encourage you to wear a normal, regular, supportive shoe when you're doing long distances. So an alternative or a better choice for a flip-flop besides an athletic shoe or a good supportive shoe would be the supportive sandal or the water shoe that's going to offer some ankle stability with an ankle strap, as well as a cushion and arch support in that water shoe or athletic sandal that offers the ankle strap as well. We talked a lot about shoe wear today. I hope this helps you when you make your next purchase. If you are suffering currently with foot pain, ankle pain, lower leg pain, joint issues in your knees and your hips, and even back pain, the first place that you should start is looking at your shoes. Have you replaced your shoes in the past 6 months to a year? Most shoes, if you wear them on a regular basis, you want to replace every 6 months if you're wearing them every day, or every year if you're wearing them every other day and alternating your shoes. For runners, you should be replacing your shoes every 300 to 400 miles. Lighter, quicker runners may be able to get away with 500 miles on one pair of shoes, but you definitely need to be looking about 300 to 400 miles on your shoes. Same with walkers, recreational walkers or competitive walkers. You need to be replacing your shoes at 300, 400 miles. For other shoes in different sports, your court sports or your field sports, those need to be replaced per season. If you have a growing foot, if you don't have a growing foot and you're an adult, then you want to look each season at the quality of the shoe when they've gotten wet or they've gotten dampened by moisture, either from your foot sweating or from the weather conditions. You want to be replacing those shoes just from a hygiene standpoint, as well as the material in the shoe will break down if it's constantly exposed to water. So these are some tips that you can follow on shoe wear. As far as dress shoes, again, on this, about every 6 months if you're wearing the shoe every day, or every 12 months if you're alternating the shoe. And my personal recommendation is that you alternate the shoe with another shoe every day, so that you don't wear the same shoe 2 days in a row. And the reason for this is it takes about 24 hours for the cushion in your shoe to rebound back to its original position. So if you wear the same shoe every day, you're going to break down that shoe a lot faster than if you alternate it with another pair of shoes. If you're an athlete, I suggest getting 2 pairs of athletic shoes for your sport, and then alternate them every other day if you practice every day. If you practice 3 days a week, you don't necessarily need to buy 2 pairs of shoes because you're getting that 24-hour break in between. If you're an exerciser but you don't exercise competitively, I recommend that you have 1 pair of shoes designated for just your exercise, and then another pair of shoes designated for, kicking around day-to-day activities. You really don't want to exercise in the same shoe that you're going to be doing your daily routine in, because you want that exercising shoe, whether it's a tennis shoe or a running shoe, you want that to be able to rebound, and you want to be able to have a fresh shoe the next day for hygienic purposes as well. I hope this helps with when you pick out your next shoe. And like I said, if you're having increased pain in your legs or in your back, I strongly encourage you to look at your shoe wear and decide if you've replaced your shoes in the past 6 months to a year. If you have any questions, I welcome those. I thank you, Joelle and Ed, for joining me today. If you have questions, please go ahead and put those comments in. And if you're watching this on a replay, go ahead and put your comments in there as well. I do read those and follow up with people. And if you have questions specifically for me, you can contact me directly at 262-842-2220, or you can email me directly at Jeanette@dewittptwellness.com. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.